It's been nice out, so I'm gonna give you guys my 5 tips on how to find more sheds. And I've been seeing a lot of people finding sheds, and I know some people here in Minnesota that's found sheds as well. So I'm gonna give you my 5 tips on how to find more sheds this spring and right now. Let's get into it. Tip number one is pretty obvious and basic for those that are experienced shed hunters, but if you're just getting into it, one tip I can give you is finding food sources. Bucks should be pretty easy to locate during the winter months on food sources. So if you can find food sources, that's where a lot of their time is going to be spent. If like one spot that I know that I have pinned that I'm gonna go look at is this big cornfield, and it's like 100 acres of corn. I know a lot of bucks are gonna spend time in and around those cornfields. And so looking into the cornfields, around the cornfields, so locating food sources is a great way to find some sheds because they'll spend a lot of time there. And like if you're like looking at swamps, like dogwood is a good, and like some like those browsing like trees that they like to like, I know like dogwood is one that they browse on a lot. So if you can find stuff that they browse on, main food sources, it's going to be an excellent spot to find some sheds. Who is locating bedding areas is going to be a great way to find some sheds. I know like this old shed I have right here, it's kind of chewed up a little bit, but I was still super happy to find this because I like finding sheds. Is I found that in a bedding area. Bedding areas is a great way to find some sheds because they'll stand up and they'll shake their heads, and sometimes their antlers will fall off. Sometimes it's a good spot to find matching sheds because both of them will fall off. I've seen that before. So bedding areas is a great way to find some sheds because they spend a lot of time there, and then when they get up, they'll just shake their heads and they'll fall off. So, and then tip number three kind of goes with one and two, but locating like travel corridors with tip number one and tip number two. So if you can find where they're traveling between food and bedding, is going to be a great way to find some sheds as well. If you can find like little ditch pockets where like they'll jump up and stuff, not whatever will knock their antlers loose. And so finding travel corridors, getting on a like when like here in Minnesota, if I can get on like a deer trail, just kind of follow that, and you hear it all the time, miles for piles, but it's like miles and miles and miles and miles for one, for like this guy. I spent 10 miles to find this. Not actually, but that's what it seems like sometimes. But just getting onto some trails and locating bedding and food and just following those travel corridors is going to be a good way to find some sheds as well. Here that I found last year is going to be tip number four is if you can find south facing slopes. The sun will penetrate those south facing slopes a lot, and it will spend a lot of its time there. That's where I found this one, and they'll bed there, or they just spend a lot of time there because it's just warm, and their body just warms up from them spending so much time on those south facing slopes. And so south facing slopes is a good way to find some more. And then tip number like one and a half and two, I guess, 1A, 2B, whatever you want to say, 1A, 1B, is bringing binos is a great tool to use while shed hunting, and just kind of like locating a part of an antler is kind of what you're looking for. Don't try to look for like the whole big piece of the antler. If you can look for like a brow tine or something, and then approaching it, seems to be a good tool because especially if you're out west where there's so much to cover and you can only cover so much, but like if you could just pull up your binos and just glass and let your eyes work, it's very important. And plus when shed hunting like in the woods and stuff is just going super slow, don't feel like you have to be in a rush to go, like kind of just walk a little bit and scan. And you've probably walked past so many sheds. I've probably walked past a ton of sheds because I was just going too quick and I was just nose to the ground walking, and I just passed them instead of just like going a little bit and like observing. And that kind of brings me into like my second tip of the tip five is going when it's cloudy. I have felt is like a really good time to go shed hunting because it seems like this white here in like the leaves when it's like gloomy and rainy, like this white on the antler seems to like glow a little bit more if the shed is like that or whatever. But I've that's just my experience. I've noticed is when it's like super sunny and bright, like these sheds just like blend in a little bit more from to the brightness. I don't know if that makes sense, but I've noticed that going when it's like cloudy and gloomy is like a really good time to go shed hunting. But those are my 5 tips on how to find more sheds and where to look for sheds. if there's something that I didn't cover that you have noticed that has helped you find more sheds, please drop it down below. I'd love to hear your guys' tips and what you guys like to do to find more sheds. But if you have not gone out, get out, find some more sheds. It's getting super nice out here, especially in Minnesota it is. I need to get out. And so hope you guys enjoy this video and thank you so much.